All right. What's happening, fam? L.A.R. movement still moving. The book is entitled Lessons from a Non-Custodial Father at Amazon, Kindle, and Create Space. A link will be in the description box below, as usual. This video is entitled House Negro and Field Negro Capitalism. I was on a hangout with Brother X yesterday, and I kind of brought this up a little bit. TPOT, if y'all don't know. Now, in America, us as black men, we have a different view of America, and part of our view of capitalism, in some ways, comes out of the house Negro, field Negro mentality, because in a simplistic way, you'll say that if somebody's successful, they could be a coon, or if somebody's successful doing something that is wrong, they getting rich in a field Negro way, right? So house Negroes like coon, field Negroes like whatever. So I think as a community, we have a economic duality towards capitalism, because remember, like, if you watch that movie Django, the field Negro is your workforce, right? The field Negro are your athletes and entertainers, right? And that's, they really bring in the bulk of the resources in America, but these field Negroes don't get to profit off of them, right? So you pick out a special few. Because in some ways, I hate to say it like this, some ways, like, sports and entertainment could be looked at as a pseudo white guilt reparations. The most talented and the biggest and the strongest and the fastest need to get the most money, because what did we normally do to the most talented, the biggest, strongest, and the fastest, right? So it's like a pseudo reparations. It goes both ways, because I'm going to get on the house Negro capitalism too. So when we look at America and capitalism, that's part of the reason why I think people push their kids to sports and entertainment. It's because it's a historic path to wealth, or rich, or money, or upper class. It's a direct upliftment of class, even if you don't necessarily make it, because you can get a free education out of it, and that free education can get you in the room to get yourself into an upper class economic system, right? So some of us look at capitalism from a field Negro mentality. Like, the flip side is the love for these quote unquote dope boys and degenerates and criminals and whatnot, or they getting money in a field Negro type of way, right? So they're exalted because they're kind of outlaws and bucking the system, but they still getting money. So we're getting money. They're getting money outside the confines of American oppression. So you kind of looked at it as a Robin Hood. You feel me? Now, when it comes to the house Negro capitalism, sometimes it's really more so involved with thinking somebody's like selling us out or coon, and they're getting like one person to get paid to kill each other, like um uh fighting and with the bucks, like in Django, right? Or with the black men, what they call bucks, in the Django, you kill another brother, you're gonna get paid for it. The other one is, they feel like a house Negro, you sell a brother out, you get paid for it, right? Thus, the infiltration of a lot of our organizations, and brothers will get paid for that. So even when people have a different viewpoint than you, you're feeling that they're getting paid by white people to be a house Negro. That's why they're successful. People look at people like, I would say, like the Larry Elders and stuff like that. So, but the other thing about that is, house Negroes are looked at as people who can't handle the elements. So that includes your nerds. So what happens is, in some way, shape, form, or fashion, we lump people who are inventors into the house Negro category because we feel like they're not physically strong enough to fight, or or they're not willing to die for their stance intellectually. So the house Negro capitalism is, partially, this is the person who invents things and it gets their invention stolen. This is the person who is using their brain to help out a situation, and then somebody else takes credit for it, and they looked at it as if they got punked, and the organization, the company, takes credit for their work. Kind of like if anybody was like an engineer or a chemist, and you were working for and you were working for like a pharmaceutical company, a botanist or something. If you're working in the building of the company and you create something on purpose or by accident, because you created it in the building, the company is gonna own it and get credit for it because you created it in the building. You get what I'm saying? Now, if you created something that generates them a lot of money like that, normally what they will do is they'll take credit for your invention. They'll take it and say, it's the company's invention, but they'll give you a bump up in pay and give you a bigger position because they're really paying you off of the pennies of every dollar that you are making a company with your invention. So what happens is, like I said, it's like house Negro capitalism. So sometimes people are looked at as if they're working for the man, quote unquote, to keep their society rolling. So the reason I bring both of these things up this way is because when we're thinking about us as a community building and growing together, that's one of the issues that keep popping up is we have house Negro economics and capitalism versus field Negro economics and capitalism, because what's in the middle of them is us fighting each other at the for money from another group. And because on both sides it's kind of bred animosity, because on a field Negro sense you're fighting each other. You know what I'm saying? And on a house Negro sense you're fighting against each other physically more so. On a field Negro sense, you're fighting against each other mentally on the house Negro sense of capitalism. So unfortunately, in the middle is who you would consider, quote unquote, the white man, right? So it trains us to not work together. House Negro, house and field Negro capitalism. So just because so that's partially why the reason we can get money apart, but it's hard to get money together, because the mentalities themselves make it hard to trust each other, because this field Negro and house Negro capitalism is partially rooted in not trusting each other, or not working with each other, or seeing each other as the enemy. So not trusting our opinions, ideas, long-term success. So, we can't go back and forth for saying, if a house Negro was like, look, this is the plan we need to make economically, and this is the business plan we need to lay down, and this is how these people that we're probably going to be doing business, this is how they do business. I should know because I was in the house with these people, right? But the field nigga be like, nah. That's how the stereotype would be looked at. Like, I don't trust that. I don't trust you speaking for me. I got to be in the room. And he's like, no, you can't be in the room because you're going to scare the hell out of them. So, creates a problem. Flip side. You got a house Negro, a field Negro generating money. And, the house Negro's like, this is what we're going to do, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, and the field Negro capitalist like, look, I'm going to tell you right now, this is how we make money over here. The rules you thinking to keep money or make more money is not going to work on this side of the fence. It's two different economic systems. Like when I would reference Carlito's Way with Sean Penn's lawyer character. You can't take lawyer mentality in the gangster mentality. It doesn't work. Those are two separate worlds. And I think that's part of the the field Negro and house Negro capitalism that we're not putting together. Like, okay, you know, and I think partially in the middle of it is there's always an imaginary white man around that could either come squash it, settle it down, or take it over, right? And or can be used as a shield for us to rob each other and run away scot free. Because you rob your brother and then you run off and you say the white dude it's him, and then they get in the way and then you get away scot free. It's part of that mentality that is also pervasive with it. And because we're not interacting properly with each other, and we have two different economic mindsets, we're not realizing we're part of our problem, stopping us from going forward and growing forward when it comes to working with each other and doing business with each other and doing right by each other in an economic sense. So, just a theory. So we out.